All right, B'siyata Dishmaya, we're here at the Alshech Academy, Parashat Vayechi, and to pair along with the teachings that we're learning in Darkecha, that would be fitting to learn in Byam Darkecha, the chapter on Midot. Midot, on our character traits, which is exactly what we're trying to complete and to become better in. And obviously this is sponsored by our pillar sponsors, which are Boaz Barak and Ruth Devora. May they both have infinite bracha, refuah shlema, and shefa parnasa v'briut, v'atzlacha, and everything that they do. B'ezrat Hashem. So we're in Byam Darkecha in the perek on Midot, on our traits, and it's on page Kuf Tet. And it goes like this: everybody wants that they should have good Midot, and to merit to get out of their negative midot, like we learned in Darkecha, to perfect yourself and to get rid of your lacks. But these midot, they are emotions that we have in the heart, and they arouse by themselves sometimes, without us choosing, without making a decision to feel this way or to feel that way. We just feel these things, and the person asks himself, if that's how I feel, and it's not dependent on my decision to feel down or to feel good, then what am I meant to do? How am I meant to control that? If these are the emotions that I have, these are the emotions that I have. So the first part we have to understand is that there's a war going on. And with mentioning that, let's also say that all of this year is also for the Hatzlacha, for the Chayalim, and for the returning of all of the Shvuim, all of the captive, and for refuah shlema for all of Am Yisrael. But we have to understand that there's the brain and the heart, and they're going back and forth. This is the root of the problem. Our midot, our emotions, they are an outcome of the thoughts of the head, of what's going on in our brain. What we think gives birth to emotions. We understand a certain thing in life, on a certain event that happened or something that was said to us, and because of our understanding and our interpretation of what happened, then we start to have an emotion in our heart. For example, if your brain understands that something specific that my friend did to me is not something that's proper, not something that's fitting for him to do to me, then there will be an arousal of anger inside my heart. But if my brain understands that the thing that my friend did to me, it is something that's proper, it is something that's good for me, then I wouldn't have an arousal of anger at all, right? It all goes according to what I understand about what is happening to me. When your brain understands that you don't need to get angry, then the heart doesn't even need to overcome any feelings of anger. Not to get angry or not to throw your toys out the trolley at the person. The anger doesn't even come at all. It's not even aroused at all inside of you. For example, we give a classic example. He brings it here too. You have a friend come and he smacks your hand hard. If you don't know why he smacked your hand, then you'll be like, hey, what are you hitting me for? But if you see the mosquito on your hand with the blood smashed all around it, right, then you would know immediately, well, my friend was actually helping me. He was preventing me from getting stung or from getting bit by this mosquito, right? And Rabbeinu Chaim Vital in his book, Rav Chaim Vital in his book Sha'arei Kedusha explains that the midot are traits. I'm not going to stop saying traits and character traits. I'm just going to say midot, okay? Our midot, which in Hebrew again is like the word measure, right? They are made up from the four elements of fire, wind, water, and earth, right? That's where they're made up of. But these four elements, they are the decision of which of the midot will arouse inside of us, meaning which one of them comes down to the head and causes from the head to the heart and causes the heart to act, and what is inside the heart, that's what's going to be aroused for you to feel. Something happened, you understand it in a certain way, one of those elements transitions from the brain to the heart and causes that there should be an arousal of a certain midah, a certain trait inside of you. So therefore, according to the makeup, the physical makeup of the four elements inside the person, so too he'll have one side that is more harder, one stronger than the other. But it's clear for all that the root of our emotions come from the knowledge and the understanding of the brain, because without knowing something, it's impossible to get angry at something that happened. And not only is the knowledge a simple reality that we have to contemplate, גם הבנתה מה בדיוק אירע בכל הפרטים שמשפיעים על העניין וגם דעת להבין מה זה אומר מבחינת פנימית. Not only do we have to know the internal aspect of what happened in this what happened in a certain situation that my brain is interpreting, also all of the finer details they also make an effect, right? A person could just give a look, right? He could say a whole long thing, but just that one look, it's such a fine detail, but it influences your emotion. It influences how you feel about the whole entire thing. He could have said beautiful things, but he had this look in his eyes that was not good. It's a small detail, right? In the grand scheme of all the information that was downloaded with this interaction, but that look has a big influence. For example, he will share an example. A person's walking in the street and all of a sudden his friend comes and starts screaming at him negative things. In the beginning, you need to know what happened. Ploni, this guy, Joe Schmo, he started to scream such and such words. Second, you have to understand what are the finer details. Who is he screaming at? Who heard it? And you have to now try to understand, what does this mean? That he embarrassed me, that he doesn't love me. Right, so there's many different stages. Simply, a person screamed. 2, were there people that heard him? Who was he screaming to? What was the situation around us physically? And then 3, what does it mean to me? What does that mean about him towards me? Then all of this knowledge comes down from the brain into the heart, and the element of fire starts to be aroused, and the heart has an outcome of anger. Another example that we could give is a person sees a certain piece of food, and he has a lust towards that food. He desires to eat that food. Then in the beginning you have to know, right? Here there is food, and it's tasty, and I'm able to eat it. I'm able to acquire this food. And then you have to understand, it will be good for me to have it, right? I would love to have it. It would fulfill my desire. And then the knowledge goes down to the heart. And then in your heart you have an arousal of the element of water, which is the lust, where lusts are rooted in the element of water. And then the heart starts to have an outcome of feelings of desire and feelings of lust. There's a whole process when we go through things that we don't really break down too much as humans. We don't really contemplate this. But we understand, okay, there's something I can eat. I would love to eat it. It's tasty. I can actually have it. Now, all of a sudden, all of that processing in my brain translates to a feeling of desire and lust towards a physical object. Right? So there's a process that we have to really understand in order to start to even be able to work on this idea. When you really understand things properly, then your midot, which are the expressed emotions that come out, they will come out in a proper form. We see that the root of the problem is to understand the world properly. To the point where you don't have an arousal of negative traits at all. We have to understand what is this world and what is going on properly. Then we will have a proper outcome of our emotions. So that's the first step. And we have to the next step is to strengthen our understanding. If the solution for all negative traits is understanding and recognizing the reality of Hashem and His Ashgacha, His divine providence over us, and this knowledge and this understanding helps us to stop all of our negative traits. For example, if a person has a complete knowledge, he's made a decision, he feels it, he's emotional about it, that everything is done only by Hashem. And nobody could affect him at all. Nobody could hurt him. Your friend can't do anything negative to you. Unless it was decreed up above from Hashem. And Hashem knows, and you know about Hashem, that Hashem does everything for you for the good. Everything is just to help you out. And it's not your friend at all that did it. It was Hashem that sent your friend to do something to you for your ultimate good. Whether it came out in this world looking good or looking bad, it doesn't matter. You know Hashem is good and He does everything. Then you understand that there's no reason to get angry. At least not angry towards the person that caused you any, so to say, harm in this world. Because Hashem is the one that did it. And the person is just a messenger. And you have no reason to get angry at the messenger. We're not dogs, right? We don't bite the messenger. We don't go after the mailman. When the mailman brings us a letter from the court. It's the court, not the mailman, right? So, lav deal between a court and Hashem, right? Maybe at the court you can get angry and you can fight them. But Hashem, you should know that He's doing the good for you and it's all for the good. And not only that, more than that, everything Hashem does is so good that we should be saying thank you and should be appreciating it completely. So the third stage is that we need clarity of the mind and to purify our heart. Even though all of Am Yisrael believes in Hashem, there's levels of how clear is that emotion of Emunah in Hashem felt. And according to the greatness and the level of clarity, true clarity that you have, so too your knowledge of Emunah will have influenced the feelings of your heart, the emotions of your heart. So it's not enough to know V'yadata hayom, right? The pasuk says, and you shall know today. Just knowing the thing alone in your head that Hashem runs the world and He does everything for the good, it's not enough. It has to be very, very, very clear in your head. Until you get to the next part of the pasuk, right? You knew today and you returned this information to your heart. Right? You settled it in your heart. The knowledge in your head is not enough. You have to be able to take what you know in your head and to bring it down to your heart, to the vessels of the heart. The heart is what we say understands. Halev mivin. The heart understands. And then you're going to feel this truth. You're going to feel it as an emotion in your heart that you know Hashem does everything and He does everything for the good. And you're going to start to not only just know that, which is already a nice level, but every Jew should have that level. The next thing, you have to bring it to your heart and to really feel it. And only a clear knowledge like this is called complete knowledge. Yediyah shlema. This is a yediyah, this is a knowledge that influences on my emotions, like we'll explain, Mizat Hashem. And even though these things of this world, the ideas of this world, when it's clear to a person something in his intellect, and that clarity is so strong, then the heart is very quick to feel it. Like for example, a person comes to eat something, right? And they say, hey, don't touch that, there's poison in there. And preparing it for bait to trap a rat or something like that, you know? Don't touch it, there's a negative aspect to that food. It's poison. It's bad for you. Or a person has an allergy, he sees something, it looks very good, right? And you tell him, no, you're allergic to eggs, don't touch it. Does he have any desire to eat the thing? He knows it's poison. He knows it's life or death. There's no chance I'm going to even touch it. Right? When you have a clear knowledge of the gravity of the situation, right? This thing is poison. You no longer want it. It's that simple. The more you know something, the less you're going to have a desire towards it. If that's the case, though, when it comes to understanding spiritual things, right? Up until now, we're talking about physical things. When it comes to understanding spiritual things, then our brain has a little bit of a harder time to understand things properly. Because nature and our physical eyes, right, they confuse us, so to say. And on top of this, the heart has a hard time feeling what the brain understands. Since the sin of Adam, right, in Gan Eden, the beginning of time, the Yetzer Hara is sitting inside of our heart. And he blocks us from feeling the truth, right? Like it's explained in the Zohar, inside the Kabbalah, inside the Tanya, that the heart has multiple chambers. And the left side is the dwelling place of the Yetzer Hara, and his job there is to stop you from feeling the truth of Hashem. So then, what happens if you don't feel the truth of Hashem? You start to feel things that are not so true. You start to feel emotions that are not good for you. Right? Why? Because the true knowledge that you have in your head, you have it in your head too. You know it. You know it well. You just can't get it down the pipeline into your heart. There's a blockage on the heart. The information is not transmitting properly. And this is the great work that man has to do, to be able to strengthen his knowledge on one side of what is really going on here. Hashem runs the world and Hashem is doing everything for the good. And then you have to purify the heart on the other side, and to remove all of the screens that the klipot, that the husks, all the husks from your heart, and everything that's blocking your heart from feeling that truth. There's a disconnect there, there's a break in the circuit, so to say. So on one hand, we have to understand that there is a circuit, and that there's a creator of the circuit, right, Hashem, and He causes everything to happen, and everything goes around. And if that knowledge that we have, we manage to get to the level of knowledge, but we're not able to feel it, to really live it out, to make it tangible in our heart, then we have to start to work on our heart, to purify our hearts, and to remove all of the husks that cover it up. And the main way to purify the heart is by way of kedusha, by way of sanctity, because the root problem in our working on our midot is kedusha, is holiness. The more the person guards his kedusha, and he pushes himself away from klipot, from the husks that cover up Hashem's light in this world, then they don't have the ability to rule over him. Then they're not able to really block the knowledges, the true knowledges, from coming down from the heart, from the head and the brain into the heart. Therefore, whoever completely rectifies his brit and guards his brit, and he's completely clean in all of his midot. And this is a clear sign of where a person is holding. And if you find goyim, nations in the world, that they don't have kedusha and they do have midot tovot, right? The goyim of the world, they don't have the level of kedusha that Am Yisrael has. They don't guard themselves that much when it comes to these things. But they have good midot. How could it be? Be'en ze midot tovot. These are not really good midot. They are just a certain behavior outside, like we see in America. America is a very pahutz, a very promiscuous and not so holy nation as a whole, right? They don't exactly practice the highest levels of guarding the brit and guarding the eyes and all these different things, right? But you see that they're very polite, and they say, "How are you? How's everything going?" But everybody who's lived in the U.S. and lived in another country, when you look back at the U.S., you realize, especially after Israel, right, that the guy in Israel will come to you and say, "What's wrong with you? What are you looking at?" And then open his heart and give you the biggest hug and give you food and invite you to his house and everything, and it's real, right? And so too was the realness of the "what are you looking at?" But in America, they'll have the nice smile on the face and the politeness, but inside their heart, or physically they'll backstab you, right? Or they'll be traitors, or they don't really care about you. It's just like, this is how we act here, you know. This is the proper thing to do, is to ask someone how they're doing and to care, to show that you care about them. But it's not real. So too, this is why Edom is compared to the pig, right? Chazal say, why? Because the pig puts out his feet and says, "Look, I'm kosher," but inside he doesn't have the kosher sign. He only has the kosher sign externally. He brings here like the Amalekim, the Amalekites, the Germans, Yimach Shemam, that they had a very high level of politeness and social etiquette, right? And even to hurt an animal was like a top crime in Germany, right? Animal rights was a very, very, very lofty thing. But to kill a Jew, no problem, right? So you see, it's not something that's real, and it's just some external kind of behavior. So again, one side we have to know the proper knowledge of what is going on in the world and what is Hashem doing for us. On the other side, we have to purify our heart and remove these layers from our heart that are blocking us from feeling this knowledge and downloading this knowledge properly. What are the tools and the vessels to do this? Hitbonenut v'machshava, contemplation and thoughts. Therefore, we have to work in order to strengthen this clarity of our knowledge of the reality of Hashem, because the nature of our physical eyes confuses us and it makes everything blurry, the truth blurry. On top of that, we have to work hard to purify our heart with the power of true emunah. And we have to fight against all of these negative traits and to repeat to ourselves again and again and again and again in our thoughts and in our speech, to ourselves and with others, again and again, this truth, until it will be strengthened and it will be so clear inside of us, and then the sheker, the vanity and the lies will start to submit themselves and the heart will start to feel the truth. For example, a person who feels ga'ava, a person feels pride, he has to contemplate and to think, I'm not deserving of honor because everything is from Hashem and everything that I have is His and it's just deposited in my hand. It's not really mine. And what did I actually even do? How was I even the one that was, so to say, successful? It was just with the help of Hashem. So what am I getting prideful about? And if the Yetzer Hara says to a person, you still did something, you're still the one that did the action, then you start to contemplate, Hashem is here with me. The whole entire world is filled with His glory and His honor. And who am I next to Hashem? Nothing. And if that's the case, then how could I ever get prideful? And go longer in feeling how Hashem is standing over you, and therefore you contemplate that you have no reason to get prideful, because what is the value of a small human being in a place that Hashem is there? And when you have thoughts and contemplations, holy thoughts and contemplations, then you'll merit lat lat, slowly but surely, bezat Hashem, that your heart will be purified. And if you feel jealousy, then you contemplate and you repeat to yourself that Hashem Yitbarach has shefa bli shi'ur. Hashem has infinite abundance that we couldn't even measure. And He gives every single person exactly what they need to complete themselves. And then for sure, if I don't have that thing and my friend has it, obviously I don't need it. Because it's not like Hashem can't give it to me if He wanted to. If I needed it, He could give it to me. He has no limit. So if I don't have something and my friend has it and I feel like I desire that thing, I wish I had that thing, I have to know, right? Because again, it's the heart of emotions. What do I feel? And it's what do I know? First things first, I need to know Hashem runs the world. He could give anybody anything He wants. If He gave him that thing and not me, it's because He needs that thing and I don't need it. And then two, I have to work on my heart, right? To feel that and to help that message get into my heart. So too in every single midah, every single trait, every character trait that you have, because every single midah is a part of the nefesh, of the soul of a person. And you have to go deep into it with emunah, and by way of this you can rectify it. And then from this you'll understand that there's no such thing as a negative trait at its core, by itself. Every midah, you can use it for good, and you can use it for bad. Right? Everything could be taken to either side. And from what we understand here, when we have an arousal of negative midah, then a negative emotion in our heart, it's only because we didn't understand the thing properly at its source. What actually happened? What message did my brain send to my heart? Because if I'm having a negative emotion, that means that the message was lost in translation, or it wasn't the proper observation, it wasn't the proper download of what actually happened. And that comes because I have a lack of emunah. I have a lack of belief and loyalty to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning the midah itself is not bad. The arousal of it came in the improper place, and this is the reason, this is the source of the problem. So last little part here for this section of Byam Darkecha is the peulot, is the actions. The first step in the war of the person is to know that after you feel an emotion in your heart that's a negative emotion in your heart, first things first, you have to control your actions. And you have to imprison that negative emotion inside your heart. For example, if a person makes you angry, you answer them in a slow, calm, low-level voice. Don't raise your voice to them like the Ramban says in his letter, right? And by way of that, you already break the klipa. If someone's annoying you and you don't raise your voice, you're already overcoming the physical reality that you're experiencing, and you're tapping into a much deeper spiritual level that you're not allowing yourself to act or to match the tone of the person that's coming to annoy you, right? But already there, you've already done a huge damage to the physical reality that's confusing you. Because what does the Klippa say to you? What is this world, this physical world that covers up the reality of Hashem? It says, according to their lies, right? According to what we're showing you with your eyes, that this guy's annoying you, you should get angry at him. And you don't listen to the world, you don't listen to the physical reality, and you don't act with anger, then, so to say, you're disrespecting, you're disgracing the Klippa, which is a good thing to do. To put them down, to show, I'm not giving into this lie, I'm not giving into the matrix that's confusing me and trying to make me think that I need to get angry at this person is deserving of a wrath to come down on him. And you start to announce that what I see with my eyes is not true. There's a deeper reality. And even if you don't have the ability to completely rule over your heart at this point, at least control your actions. Right? Your heart might be extremely angry. At least keep it there. Right? And the truth is that you don't need to get angry, because everything's from Hashem and everything's for complete good. And not only do you have to control your actions, there's also the rule of after the actions, the heart will be pulled. So that the second that you can control your actions, it'll be that much easier for you to control your thoughts. And if you can not let it out, that's already a huge progress. And I always like to bring it when I learn on this subject. It's an important thing. We grew up, especially us in the West, with this knowledge, this idea of don't go to sleep angry, right? Meaning if you have your wife and you had a fight, and you're not allowed to go to sleep until you talk it out. Not true. From this we understand that it's not true at all, right? Because if you feel angry but she doesn't, so now you're going to ruin her night of sleep because you can't go to sleep angry? Because you have to get it out? You have to sort it out? No, maybe going to sleep would help you calm the heck down and wake up in the morning with a new perspective. Not so angry, right? But the second that emotion goes, first of all, you misunderstood something. There's probably a miscommunication there, especially if you're dealing with your wife, right? A miscommunication, a lack of knowledge of clear emunah in your head that led to you misinterpreting something the wrong way. That negative understanding of what happened, of Hashem taking care of you, because it's always for good, went down to your heart and transmitted and aroused anger, right? And now your heart is on fire. You could stop it right there. You can at least be angry inside your heart and don't ruin the world. Don't break down the house. Leave it there. But no, the West tells us you have to talk about it. You have to get it out. So then you go and you start to talk with her, and now the anger is let out of its cage, and now you're a beast, right? And now all of a sudden, this emotion is leaving your heart and it's coming into the world. You already lost the battle. You already lost the battle. Why? Because you misinterpreted it here. That led to an angry feeling here. You could have stopped it at least there, right? Be angry, but don't act angry. You could be pissed off in your heart, but stop it there. Because the second it comes out, there's no going back. Right? You already let this negative energy come into the world. You've given into the matrix. You've given up. You've given into the husk that covers the light of Hashem. The fact that Hashem is doing everything for you. And now you're going to get her upset and sad and angry. And then she's going to have more negative traits that are going to come out into this world. Right? And I'm giving the example of a man and a wife, but this could go into anything. Control your emotions. Do not let them come out into this world if they are negative. You have the ability to suppress them in your heart. And I'm not saying, right, if there's any therapists listening, they're probably like, no, you have to work these things through. Yes, no problem. You want to talk about what you felt in your heart and the anger you had, go talk to Hashem. Let it out in prayer. Let it out. Go work out. Go do something. Get that energy out, but don't take it out on the person. Don't let anger come out of your heart and as a negative emotion and to start to be destructive in the world. Especially not with the person that's just the messenger of Hashem. Because really you're angry at Hashem, if anything. You're not angry at your wife. Right? So we have to understand things properly, and the stage is clear emunah. Our clear emunah leads to proper knowledge, proper interpretation of the situation, that proper interpretation of the situation gets downloaded into our heart as a message of, hey, arouse this element, either fire, water, earth, or air, right? And once that is aroused, then you start to have an emotion. And that emotion is going to be, if it's water, it's going to be more of a lust. If it's fire, it's going to be more of an anger, right? But no midah, no trait at its core is negative. They can all be used for positive and for negative. I think later on he's going to say it, and if I'm not mistaken, the only one that is negative is anger. Anger at its core is, there's no way you could use anger in the right way. Although they say, right, which is, yeah, no, it can't be. Because later you're going to see the Rambam brings that, and this is halacha, when you want to tell off your child, you're allowed to show that you're angry, but you're not allowed to actually have anger in your heart. Right? The kid could see that, Abba's upset. But Abba's not allowed to actually have anger in his heart when he's disciplining his child. Because if you have anger in your heart, again, now we understand it. If you really have anger in your heart and you need to discipline your child, then that fire is going to come out in a smack, and then that's not good. That's you being an animal, that's not you being a good father. Right? So we have to really, really understand this, and this is going to help us. There's many more chapters here, and we're going to learn more tools on how to elevate this and how to work on this, B'ezrat Hashem, and to work on our midot. May Hashem bless us all to have good midot.